Welcome back. The last possible welcome back.
It is the last welcome
The
back.
last welcome back. Okay.
The finale welcome back.
Yeah.
No actual case today.
Well, I mean, I guess you can say we're murdering the podcast, so I guess it's its own case.
Is it really murder? By the way, this episode's going to be unedited, so you're going to get to enjoy every gap, every awkward thing. So, the podcast is the topic today, in that the podcast beyond this episode is no more.
Yeah.
The thing about working a full-time job and trying to run a weekly posting true crime podcast is that there's so much work behind the scenes that we don't have time for anything else. And as two people that really enjoyed true crime that are now beginning to kind of hate true crime a little bit.
The whole Jim Jones thing, like trying to get into that, dude, it put me in such a dark place. And then also I had a lot of losses in my family. I had 2 family members go within like a month and a half, plus like all of the family pets in that same time frame.
Yeah.
River's fine. All of our personal pets are okay right now.
Except for Gypsy.
Yeah.
Which was already brought up. And that was part of a motivating factor for me. Ultimately, life...
2024 just kind of started off really bad for both of us.
It did. It absolutely did. And in the long scheme of things, Spotify kind of helped kill the podcast.
Yeah.
So originally when we started this podcast, it wasn't such a difficult goal to be able to achieve that point of being able to get paid for this podcast. And over the course of time since the podcast began, knowing full well that we're a small podcast and that first original goal, we only had to get 100 regular listeners. And that was something that we'd brought up in the past. Right. Since the podcast began, Spotify ended up changing their host-read ad policy to be you needed 1,000 regular listeners, and at last time I checked, that was not even in effect anymore. Spotify just basically decided, hey, you're cool enough, we'll let you read ads. And that really made it to such an impossibly achievable goal in a small amount of time. Ultimately, in order to reach the goals that Spotify set forth to be able to get paid for doing this, we probably wouldn't have been able to achieve those for years.
Right. And then like on other platforms, like I know our stuff on YouTube with what we talk about and how graphic the stuff is that we talk about, with how their regulations kind of are, we would never be monetized.
No.
On that.
That would be an
In
impossibility.
it for the money. Like this started off as just like a hobby. We were just like, you know what? We listen to all of this true crime stuff. Like we want to be able to share it. So I think I was actually having like a bad mental day, and Ari had invited me over for dinner, and I just like jokingly was like, you know what, why don't we like start a podcast? And then the podcast happened.
Yeah.
Because we were like, well, we both love true crime. Like I have all of this insane knowledge on all of these well-known serial killers, and I just wanted to be able to regurgitate it because Teddy hated when I talked about death and everything like that.
Right.
And he even noticed, he's like, you used to get so happy. It's really weird saying you used to get so happy about like true crime and stuff like that, but I was so passionate about it, and then just kind of like stopped. And so it's we would personally we would love to keep doing this, but I think we would just kind of like run ourselves into an early grave.
Yes.
Mentally doing this.
And the thing is when it comes to researching the episodes, we're spending a week, sometimes more, to be able to just research the episodes. And sometimes it took me 2, 3, 4 days of multiple hours a day just to be able to get things edited in a way that was clean and nice and respectable, because sometimes we made some jokes that even for a true crime podcast were a little too dark. But
it affects your personal lives.
The thing is when you spend almost all of your waking time talking about and researching and reading up on death, it makes it really, really difficult to try and be a positive person in life.
Right.
And with all the negativity between the both of us that's happened just since the beginning of 2024, we really got to find something more positive to focus on. That being said, we're not going to ghost everything and delete everything. The podcast name on the platforms is going to change to the Massacre Matinee Archives, so that all of the episodes are still able to be enjoyed. But I do want to finish out this quick little goodbye by giving everyone a few stats about our podcast, because just since we started in June, I still feel like we did pretty decent.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we have the podcast available on so many different platforms. So the information that I'm getting is only from Spotify. 25 Spotify followers, that's not that bad, considering how small of a podcast view we are. And just over the course of the time that we've taken off, we broke 1,000 plays on the podcast. And our most popular episode by far was the Dozier School. The Dozier School had over 110 views. And next closest to that was actually our very first episode, The Walls, with just shy of 40. So I think over the course of the time that we've been here as a podcast, it's been awesome. The thing is, though, is
one last final gift, we should release the Black Dahlia unedited.
The Black Dahlia is partially edited, but I legitimately can't listen to it anymore. The Black Dahlia recording was over an hour long. I never made it beyond 20 minutes into the episode,
also
editing wise.
A rough one.
It's a very I think the Black Dahlia might have been part of what broke me too.
Yeah, what happened to her was really bad.
Yeah.
I get the really bad cases.
You choose the really bad cases, sweetie. But it's been a fun time doing this podcast. I don't necessarily know from my personal perspective that it was something that I ever wanted to keep up with forever.
It was just a fun hobby.
I did enjoy it. It was a fun hobby, but it went from being a hobby to more like work.
An unpaid second job.
It was an unpaid second job, and that made it very, very stressful. And with the economy,
right,
we kind of need to be getting paid for everything.
It's not like we made this choice.
We didn't make it lightly
because we were going to be like, okay, we'll take a month, and then maybe we'll do like a bi-weekly thing where we record once a week, and we will record release every 2 weeks, just so then we give a break. And then it was just like, well, like maybe we don't do as many holiday episodes, because that really kind of killed us too.
That did. I was a little over ambitious with that. It was a fun little add-on, but I went a little bit too hard with that.
So it's like we tried. we had all these plans, and it was just kind of like, with everything going on, and like I know this summer I'm wanting to be a little bit more family focused kind of thing.
Me too.
I've really kind of, took a step back from talking with family, and
and the podcast made it difficult to be able to do the things that we enjoyed. I have a very, very nice PC that I haven't even played games on over the course of this podcast, because every time I booted it up, that was always the focus, was the podcast, and I can't live my life that way.
Right.
I can't.
So thanks Mom, and thanks Penny for being our two strongest listeners that we know personally. I know you guys are both upset about this, but doesn't mean that we both won't just sit there and rattle off all of this true crime fascination stuff to you while we see you in person once we're back to being able to listen to it again.
Right, absolutely. That being said, with the ending of the podcast, there are 2 possible situations where there might be uploads. One of them is the case on Kate's dad. That
I feel like I should explain what happened, because we always
talk about how your dad's going to be a case, but we never give a reasoning why. Kate's dad
is not a good person.
He's not a good person. He was very, very abusive, both physically and sexually, to people that weren't old enough to know what sex was.
And he had a lot of like domestic abuse kind of stuff like that, and he's currently sitting in jail
until the day he dies.
He got like about 40 years, 25 if he's a good boy, but honestly, he
He looks like he'll
His
be gone in
health
less than 5.
is very not good because he was also kind of an alcoholic. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And the second possible upload will be an interview with my stepdad, because it's something that I had teased a lot. My stepdad met Ed Gein, and he was very, very excited when he learned about the podcast because he's like, hey, when you do that case, like, I want to be a part of it.
Right. And, like,
So,
who knows? Maybe, like, sometime, like, obviously not right away or anything like that. We might be like, you know what? We just, like, need to get all this information out. Maybe we'll do, like, 1 or 2 episodes. But it's not going to be something that's going to be a weekly thing. It's, like, don't get your hopes up.
yeah, there
like,
will no longer be a regular podcast. But if
No.
something's particularly interesting...
Like, if I ever fucking finish Jonestown, I will make Ari sit down.
Jonestown 2025.
Dude, I haven't even, like, started that book just because, one, the way that the book's printed hurts my eyes.
I believe it. I've seen what you're talking about, and yes.
2, there are very graphic images in said book. 3, it is thick.
With like 6 Ks.
6 C's,
6
honestly.
Cs.
So
That's extra thick shit. So it's been fun. We appreciate every single listener, and we value all of your input. And the last thing that we ask is, let us know down below, what was your favorite episode?
yes.
Mine personally, I'm not even sure. I think mine, for ones that I recorded, probably would have actually been the Pizza Bomber stuff. Maybe.
Yeah. You got deep into that one.
It would have either been the Pizza Bomber one or the McDonald's Massacre one. Murder Muscles was kind of fun, though.
Dude, I think one of my favorites had to be the staircase, just because the whole owl thing.
Yes.
Oh, there was more information that came out that she apparently had, like, a bunch of dirt and stuff in her hair that I didn't see. So she had, like, leaves and dirt in her hair, supposedly. And that's, like, what kind of was just like, it was an owl. But first of all, how do you not hear your loved one get attacked by an owl? And then also a good old-fashioned first episode. The cottage cheese in the hair.
Oh, yeah. The walls.
And the salad dressing.
Yes.
So.
Faith will never think of cottage cheese the same.
Dude, we ruined a lot of people's view on cottage cheese with that one.
I still eat it.
I get the ones with chives in it. It's really good.
I only like cottage cheese if I eat it with beans.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how people eat fruit in cottage cheese.
Well, it depends on the fruit, I guess. I've seen, like, peaches in cottage cheese. That kind of makes sense.
But I don't understand, like, mixed berries.
Mixed berries, no.
Mm-mm.
Maybe with yogurt.
Yeah.
Well, it's been fun. Enjoy all of this unedited madness. Yeah. We appreciate all of you. Don't forget to let us know what your favorite episode was, because I legitimately want to know. And I want to potentially try and get some kind of response from everyone.
Right.
Rather than just Kate's mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
I'll see you in like 10 minutes, Mom.
So we will we'll miss you guys, and I guess this is the Massacre Matinee signing off.
Please exit your seats quietly, you know.
Don't forget to take your trash with you. Carry it in, carry it out. Recycle. Bella says hello and goodbye. Yeah. She's making meowing noises and rubbing on the microphone. There you go. Maybe you got that one. Enjoy. Bye.